It's no secret most real estate investors have been targeting short-term rentals for many years because of their massive cash producing upside compared to a long-term rental. After being in the space for many years and studying the market, I believe there are 3 core reasons why the short-term rental market has the potential for a massive correction that could shake up the entire industry. First, short-term rentals have terrible margins compared to long-term rentals. And hear me out here. When you look at what a guest pays on a platform like Airbnb, 21% goes to the platform, Airbnb, or VRBO. 10% goes to the government for occupancy taxes. 17% goes to property management companies. 5% goes to utilities. 5% goes to furnishings, upkeep, and maintenance. And 3% goes to disposables for soap, toilet paper, cooking oils, etc., leaving the owner with 39% of total revenue. Long-term rents, by comparison, usually only have 10% fee for property management, leaving 90% to the investors. This means in order for a short-term rental to break even compared with its long-term rental counterpart, assuming 100% nights booked, short-term rentals must charge 230% more. And if occupancy drops to a more realistic level, let's say 70%, then 330% more. If we jump into the spreadsheet that I made for this video, you can see that if you have a property that is doing $10,000 a month in guest payments, the owner only takes home $3,875 of it. And you see, so I pre-booked or pre-added in all those expenses, added the 70% occupancy, total guest payment. So of $10,000, $3,000 goes to Airbnb and the government for the short-term, or not Airbnb, short-term rental, for a short-term rental payment of $6,900. Short-term manager fees would be $1,700 for an owner payment of $5,000 roughly. Then we have to add in these additional expenses that you can see on the other side. This is something that's usually passed on to the renter, which is $1,300 for a total net profit of $3,875 and a net profit margin of roughly 39%. Now, I'm not saying this alone is scary. It makes sense that a person that pays, let's say, $3,000 a month for their house payment is willing to shell out $3,300 once or twice a year for a weekly vacation. The problem is that most short-term rental revenue, like the one I described above, comes from discretionary income, which is all income left over after necessary expenses like housing and food. The problem with this is that when the economy is struggling, and in particular, when the Fed is actively attempting to reduce the total money supply as it is now, then discretionary income by default goes down. This brings me to reason number 2. The 2 most important numbers for short-term rentals are the occupancy rate and the average nightly booking price, which when you times together equals your monthly revenue. These happen to be directly correlated and negatively impacted from a reduction in discretionary income. What happens when people have less money to spend on vacations? They travel less, and 2, they spend less when they do travel. And since those numbers happen to be times together with short-term rentals to get your revenue numbers, if you get 20% less bookings and 20% lower nightly average rates on those bookings, that's a 36% reduction in revenue, not 20%. If we jump back into the spreadsheet in this situation that I created, you can see in this house, monthly cash flow for short-term rentals used to be $1,500. If we now include the levers here of negative 20% occupancy and negative 20% customer willingness to pay, now all of a sudden that $1,500 is reduced to negative $458, i.e. the owner is now losing his or her shirt. Now, luckily in this scenario, the owner has the fallback option of just switching to long-term rents, and though not making a lot, can keep the property and scheme for another day. But there is a very scary situation that has become the commonplace of a large majority of short-term rentals, which brings me to reason number 3. And that is the scenario where, because the numbers look so good, the investor was willing to pay way more for the house because of its short-term rental potential. And if you're saying, now, Derek, no one will be stupid enough to do that, go follow a couple of short-term rental people on Instagram and then see what the algorithm feeds you. I can assure you that so many people think they are short-term rental gods and have found the key to infinite wealth. And in all seriousness, a lot of the people are probably doing great deals, but I've seen just as many people get great now, but no long-term rent save your butt option in the future. And if what if shared comes to fruition, it's not going to be a pretty day for those people. So enough of that. Let's look at the numbers. So let's say an investor paid, let's say 50% more for the house. So instead of $2,000, that's $3,000. And even though it's a $450,000 house, because of its short-term rental potential, people are willing to pay $600,000, something like that. And once again, I like to say, these numbers are, I just made them up. Even though they tell a great story, but it's, like obviously in this market, you probably couldn't make these numbers work. And also, I included the spreadsheet in the link below, so feel free to run some of your own numbers and copy this, follow along. So all right, after increasing the monthly mortgage by $3,000, if we scroll down, we can see that now this person is, before, without the market going down, 300. So let's pretend like they spent more because, let's say they get 13,000 instead. So, $3,000 mortgage, you're making $1,500. That's awesome. But with these reductions here, now all of a sudden they're losing $1,000 a month. And if we come over here to short-term rental, they can no longer short-term rent it because, they overpaid in the beginning and they just long-term rents just will never keep up. And so now this property, once these things happen, they're screwed. There's no backup option, and they're essentially just going to be losing $1,000 a month. Now, this might not look bad, but imagine all the investors with portfolios of, say, like 10 of these, and also the homes are $1 million instead of the $500,000 ones that we just did. That investor would be losing $20,000 a month. And that is just a 20% reduction. Imagine a 50% reduction in customer willingness to pay. That would be absolutely catastrophic. Now, I want to make sure, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. It's impossible to know what's going to happen. And I hate those people that try to, market's not going to crash and it's going to go up every single year, blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is that, I believe it is very important to know the potential of an event like this so that, we can be prepared for if it does happen. And while it's evolving, we can constantly weigh the probability of something like this happening. So, if you like this video, please give me a follow and smash the like button for the algorithm. I'd really appreciate that. In the next few days, I'm going to be posting, my strategy to set myself up for the highest chance of success if this does happen. So stay tuned, subscribe, and until next time.